I get a call from my girlfriend at the time, which is my wife now. She said, "Baby, somebody flew a plane into the towers of New York." Sure enough, there it was on the television, one of the towers sitting there smoking.
It was just a tragic event to happen to our country, and the timing of it. We ended up having one of our players on the team, Joe Andruzzi. His whole family was in the firefighting business. We had a teammate that his brothers could have been killed in that tragedy.
My brother Jimmy was in Tower 1, one of the first responders. My brother Billy was called into work, as well as my brother Mark, who had just graduated the academy the Friday before. Just sitting there and waiting for about 6 hours for a phone call just to get word of what was going on. Getting home and being there, and my brother coming in the house, and no words needed to be said. He, just went like this, understanding that that's how close he was to losing his life.
The following week after the 9/11 tragedy, we're playing the New York Jets. One of our players, Joe Andruzzi, had 3 brothers that were firefighters in the Twin Towers that made it out alive. And they were on the field with us at the coin toss.
And everybody knew in that stadium, they knew my story, they knew my brothers that were out there, what they stood for. And when they called me out, I came running out with those flags, and the crowd, went wild.
Just to see that big American flag being hoisted up in the middle of the field brought chills down your spine. Very proud to be a Patriot, very proud to have that name, stitched on my shirt.
And from then on, it just seemed like our team and everybody around us just became even closer, really tight and just depend on each other and just looked at things a whole lot differently.
They had honored American heroes on that Sunday, but the Patriots themselves did not appear destined for greatness in the early part of the 2001 season.
In the year before, we were 5-11, and then we start the season off 0-2. We lost on the road to Cincinnati, then we lose at home to the New York Jets. Not only do we lose our starting quarterback too, our franchise quarterback in Drew Bledsoe.
New England's on-field leader was sidelined indefinitely. His replacement would be backup Tom Brady, who had previously played in only one NFL game.
No disrespect to Tom, but without Drew getting hurt, he would have never seen the field. I love Tom. He's a great player. But at that point, Drew Bledsoe was our franchise. They just signed him to a new 10-year deal worth a ton of money. He was the man at the time.
I don't care what the other guy says about me. I don't care whether anybody thinks we can win or lose. I'm not intimidated by anybody. I just want to go out there and do the best that I can do. And I put tremendously high expectations on myself to do that.
Tom's role as the quarterback was really just to manage the game and to make sure that he got the ball to the players that we felt like were our best playmakers. But I think a lot of those games that we won in the 2001 season were more a reflection of our defense and our special teams. We signed a lot of veteran players. I think we signed 17 in the offseason, players that came onto the team to fill different roles. It was trying to find people that could do the things that complemented other people.
This team of cast-offs and kids caught fire in the second half of the season. The Patriots won 10 of their last 12 games, then earned a pair of unlikely playoff wins. When officials reversed an apparent New England turnover by invoking the tuck rule, it set the stage for one of the most improbable kicks in league history.
Adam Vinatieri will attempt a 45-yard field goal to try to tie it. Snap, ball down, kick up on the way, and it is good! It is good! Adam Vinatieri kicks it through the snow!
Adam's second field goal in overtime gave the Patriots a stunning win. But their playoff magic did not end there.
You know, the next week we go into Pittsburgh, and that's one that nobody gave us any chance to win. And we score a touchdown on a punt return, and we score another touchdown on a blocked field goal.
Touchdown! Touchdown, Troy Brown!
Those were borderline miracle games, really, against outstanding teams. We just happened to have one or two things go a little bit more right for us than they did for our opponents.
Even when things went wrong, the Patriots prevailed. After Brady suffered an ankle injury, a now healthy Bledsoe came off the bench and quickly cashed in.
Touchdown by Drew Bledsoe! His first touchdown pass of the season!
We started to hear a lot of destiny stuff being written about it, and I hate that word, destiny, because it makes it sound like we didn't earn it. Get rid of destiny. It was more about determination and will and want and execution.
In 2001, the St. Louis Transworld Dome was more circus big top than football stadium. Center stage to a team looking for its second Super Bowl title in 3 years.
Quarterback to pass, has to step up, gonna unload near side. Isaac Bruce got a step. Catch, touchdown Rams. Kurt Warner on play action. The setup. Fire home run ball. Torrey Holt in the end zone. He's there and got it. Touchdown Rams. Here we go.
You know, it was so amazing to be a part of the greatest show on turf. And that all started with Mike Martz. His mentality, his ability to be able to design plays around the players, his ability to push the envelope like no other coach that I've been with.
Going to hand to Oz. He's going to run right on the option play and keep it himself. Looking to pitch. Does. That Trump's in the open and going to score. What a play by the Rams.
The Rams are capable of all sorts of creative plays.
Hands to Asakim in the reverse. He'll stop and throw the football. Unloads. Torrey is wide open. Touchdown Rams.
There's no doubt that this was the best assemblage of talent that Mike Martz had at his disposal. So now you put all these pieces together with the mind of Mike Martz, who, by the way, was so far ahead of his time in terms of understanding that contemporary football needs to be wide open.
People looked at what we did and thought it was crazy. At times, we had coaches that would question what Mike was doing. Like, we can't do that. And Mike's favorite question was, who said so? When you have a coach willing to try anything to win and going so far out of the box that people started calling him crazy, Mad Mike, you get something different. You get something you hadn't seen before.
The key component to this history-making attack was Marshall Faulk himself.
Well, Marshall was really the centerpiece of that football team in a lot of respects. And I think defensively, from a football aspect, defensively, you had to stop him before you stopped anybody. He just redefined that position completely.
Guy's remarkable, folks. Absolutely remarkable. Forget the big red S. Right. Superman wears a 2 and 8 on his chest. Exactly
right. If you got a chance to see what we did, or if you didn't, go watch the films. You will definitely walk away and say, that was unique, that was different. Boy, that might be the greatest ever.
The Rams became the first team in NFL history to score 500 or more points over 3 consecutive seasons. They also set a franchise record with 14 wins, thanks in large part to major improvement by their previously porous defense.
There were changes in personnel and also in coordinators and coaching staff. Lovie Smith came over as a defensive coordinator.
That last one, we showed cover 2, or we showed blitz. They got blitz right away, and then they sent the back out. So once we come with our bluff and stuff, just get ready for them to go to the weak side quick, all right?
Installed the Tampa 2 defense. We drafted, I think, 3 defensive players in the first round, and we created a lot of takeaways that year.
Lytle steps back, fires the slant, picked off. Gonna be a touchdown. Aeneas Williams waltzes in.
We brought Lovie in, and he really did a terrific job of getting us back together defensively. I really felt like we were a complete team. I thought that we were very competitive and had a chance to be back in the Super Bowl.
intercepted by the linebacker, Tommy Pollard. He's going to score his way into the end zone. Touchdown, Rams.
But it was up to the defense. It was up to us to hold up our end of the bargain and go out there and contribute. Everything kind of came together, and with the offense playing the way it did, and then now we had a defense that seemed like there was nothing or anybody that could stop us.
First and 2, baby. You get the hat, and then you get the shirt. With the hat and the shirt, then you move on for the ring.
After 2 impressive playoff wins, Martz and his Rams were installed as the biggest Super Bowl favorite in nearly 4 decades. The first Super Bowl staged in the post-9/11 era featured an unprecedented level of stadium security. Fans were advised to arrive even earlier than normal to pass through checkpoints. But once inside the Superdome, those same fans witnessed a stirring tribute to the heroes of September 11th. As the pregame ceremonies progressed, many of the New England Patriots reflected on the lessons learned from their regular season game against the same team they would soon battle for the World Championship.
We played with the greatest show on turf, and we lost. But we built some confidence in that one, saying, if this is the best team, if this is the next Super Bowl champions, hey, they're not that much better than us. And if we play a little better, we maybe can get these guys.
We played New England up there on Sunday night. That was the most physical game that we played that year. And I mentioned to the media at the time that this was a Super Bowl team. It was the best team that we played to that point. I don't think people realize how good they really were. They're starting to get into that role of confidence.
They were pretty good. They were prepared. They gave us toughest time on defense. I think the way they schemed to play us, I think they played a lot of zone with man underneath it. We hadn't seen too much of that year, but I think they had the personnel to kind of back it up.
They threw everything at us. I remember that game in New England. They were running cornerback blitzes. They were bringing linebackers from everywhere. He tried to play coverage. He tried to drop guys. Bill tried everything.
In cuts, that's the game. Slants and in cuts, that's the game.
We felt going into the game that we had to do something to disrupt the passing game, that we just couldn't let the Rams go back and throw on time. We just wanted to get them out of rhythm, and we blitzed them, I think it was 43 times, and really didn't get very much pressure on Warner at all. They only scored 24 points, but I never really felt like we had control of the game at all. It seemed like every time they needed a pass, they could hit one. First thing I told the team was, you know, we're not doing that again.
For Super Bowl 36, Belichick would come up with an unorthodox game plan, created to specifically target the tendencies of Mike Martz's offense and its key contributors. Belichick also hoped to turn the Rams' overconfidence to the Patriots' advantage.
We may have let that get to us a little bit, being such a heavy favorite. I think we were a 14-point favorite to win that game. You know, maybe didn't think we really didn't think the Patriots could beat us.
Let's go! Go get what's on!
Set this out for day one. This ain't no surprise we're here.
We started really believing the hype as far as, you know, being head and shoulders above everyone else, especially any team that, you know, we've already played and beat them on their home turf.
Tonight, a dynasty is born, baby.
Everybody thought this was it. We finally have that new franchise that's going to just dominate, very much like the Cowboys and the 49ers had done in the past.
I don't think anyone expected the Patriots to win, and you know, there was the Super Bowl week, I remember there was quite a bit of mystery and intrigue. Is Bledsoe going to start? Is this kid Tom Brady going to start? And it ended up being Brady, and I think a lot of people thought maybe that would be to the advantage of the Rams.
Brady's exuberance overcame his ankle soreness, allowing him to start. Yet the crowd wouldn't know that right away. Because while the Rams were introduced individually, New England broke precedent with that Super Bowl tradition.
We made a decision. I don't care if we get in trouble. I don't care if we get fined. We're walking out as a team again because that's how we played all season long. We're all Patriots. That's the way we're going to do it.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, choosing to be introduced as a team, here are the American Football Conference champions, the New England Patriots.
This is what we've been prepared for right here. This opportunity, okay? We belong right here because we own it there. And let's show them who the best is. Win on three. 1, 2, 3. Win.
Vinatieri approaches, and Super Bowl 36 is underway.
I think it was the ultimate chess match because you knew you had Mike Martz, who was going to continually change up what he did. And then on the other side, you had Coach Belichick, who is exactly the same way. He's never going to let you see the same game plan twice. You're going to always have to react to something different when you play them. Those two guys going back and forth, trying to punch and then counter punch and see who would win out in the end.
I don't care what you try to do. What you're doing means nothing to me. I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and you can't stop me. That's the exact same mentality that Mike Martz has always taken with him into games, particularly big games. There's a absolute glint in his eye and a delight in the fact that he knows, I got you. There's nothing you can do about this. And I think that that has always been a part of his DNA. It's his greatest strength and his most glaring weakness.
Recognizing Martz's confidence and commitment to the passing game, Belichick abandoned pocket pressure for an entirely different strategy.
We knew if we played the finesse game with the Rams, we couldn't beat them. So our plan was to go in and change the landscape of the game. We're going to jam them, we're going to beat them up, and we're going to turn this into the type of game that we like, which is a physical game. Beat them up every single chance and every single play.
And it started on the outside. It started early. They were going to hit Isaac, they were going to hit Torrey, and they were going to knock him around as much as they could. It was all about disrupting our timing because they felt physically we were the superior football team.
Mugging the receivers, tackling, grabbing, bumping, all of those things were implemented into the game plan, all well within the rules at that point in time. And a team, you're expecting them to play a certain way. They come out and play a totally different way. And that first half, it seemed like everything that we did, it just was wrong.
Warner fakes the pitch, rolls right, didn't fool anybody, and he's going to be sacked by Bobby Hamilton.
The one area where Martz's Rams excelled in the first quarter was their special teams. Kicker Jeff Wilkins put St. Louis on the board first with a 50-yard field goal. And the punting unit executed a textbook coffin corner kick.
And Baker sends it away from Troy Brown, who lets it hit. It bounces out of bounds inside the New England 5-yard line.
This is our first possession of the game, and this is a play we talked about. We always script our first 10 to 20 plays of every game and how we envision the game starting. Well, you didn't envision the game starting with us having the ball on the 3-yard line.
The key play in that game was the first one. And we thought that they would come out and cover 2, which they did. We lined up in empty. We hit Troy over the middle for about, 18 yards or whatever it was. And we got out of the hole right off the bat.
Brady drops back to throw, looks, fires left. Troy Brown across the 10, 15, up to the 30, up to the 20. Oh, big play. Get out of that hole right there.
Had we gone 3 and out that first play, we ended up playing most of the game from ahead, which was certainly an advantage for us. But just being able to get the ball out from the shadow of our goal post and be able to create some field position when we didn't have any, that was a big play in the game for us.
At that point, yes, we want to take the ball 97 yards and score a touchdown. But if we can't, at least give ourselves, 2 or 3 first downs to give ourselves some breathing room when we can punt the ball away and get back and play defense after that.
New England then unleashed the next phase of its defensive game plan, placing a bullseye directly on the jersey of Marshall Faulk.
The number one weapon on that team for us was Faulk. Every time he came out of the backfield or lined up, whether he got the ball or not, he was going to get hit.
Even on pass plays where Martz Faulk would be in the backfield, instead of having our linemen just rush towards the quarterback, we would have him, if he stepped to their side, they had to chip him first before they continued on to the quarterback.
Anytime I approached the line of scrimmage, they grabbed me, tackled me, held me. Anytime I went out wide, the linebacker would come and hit me and hold me. Obviously, I've been hit on every play before being a running back, but to not have the football and to have that happen, I guess for Bill, it was like, let's see how much he wants to play.
And they went into the Super Bowl saying the referees do not want to dictate a Super Bowl. They don't want us to be throwing flags all over the place. So we're going to hit these guys. We're going to hit them downfield. We're going to do everything we can possibly do to knock them off their game until the referees decide they're going to stop us from doing that. They were able to get away with a lot more contact than I think they would have in this day and age, or they would have in most games, because it was a Super Bowl.
You know, the Super Bowl is like maybe the 7th game of Stanley Cup final. You know, no blood, no foul. And I'm sure Belichick just said, just do it every play. We're going to dare the officials. We're going to dare the crew to make the call. And they'll call some, but they're not going to call it every play, and that'll be to our advantage.
Bill Belichick has a saying about the style of play, and it's do business as business is being done. Well, it became clear early on in that Super Bowl that the Patriots were going to be able to get away with a lot of contact. So they continued to do business that way.
Super Bowl 36, 1 quarter in the books. Rams lead 3-0. They have dominated statistically. Almost 10 minutes of possession for the Rams, just over 5 minutes for the Patriots.
We'll just go 9-5, 9-57.
I remember turning to my colleague Bernie Miklasz at the Post-Dispatch after the first quarter when it was 3-0, and there were a couple of New England writers next to us too, and we're all kind of in agreement. This game is going exactly how New England would want it. Low scoring, keep it close, work the clock. I don't want to say the Rams panicked, but you could just tell, gee, what's going on here? We should be up by now.
The Rams weren't completely stopped in the first half, with occasional plays that showed flashes of their brilliance.
Caught, first down, and Oz breaks free. Near side, and he cuts down inside the 40. Big play, Kurt Warner to Oziger Akeem for a first down, 29 yards of the play.
But St. Louis simply couldn't finish what it started, thanks to New England's continuous pounding.
I play wide receiver in the NFL. I think even if you breathe on me too hard, I think it's a foul. At the same time, on the highest level in the Super Bowl, I don't think a game should be called any differently than you would call it in the regular season. So do I think there were some things that were being missed? Yes. Just how physical the game was. Their defensive backs hitting us and, pretty much hitting us in the mouth, grabbing and holding on. If you have to hold them, make the referees throw the flags. And if they don't throw the flags, it's not a foul. That's the way I was taught.
He grabbed it twice, Rick. Rick, he grabbed it twice. He grabbed you at the top.
Oh, big time. You got on top. You stabbed him, dude. I had him, too. I had him.
They had tackled Oz and Isaac. They were tackling them all.
There was also a good deal of physical play in the trenches, where Rams right tackle Rod Jones, number 60, was being tested and battered by the Patriots' hostile front four.
Rod Jones was a replacement for Ryan Tucker at right tackle. Rod Jones has started the NFC title game because Tucker was injured. Tucker was healthy for the Super Bowl, wasn't even listed on the injury report.
I guess I got too deep or something.
No, I think you had your head down and it kind of lunged a little bit.
Oh, yeah, I probably did.
Got me? Yeah. Keep that head up. Don't let him get that. Okay, he can't beat you outside, I guarantee you that. Pressure, somebody's face forces bad passes, okay, or we'll get home on him, okay?
The Patriots were about to apply that pressure. That stress would force a Rams blocking mistake, which altered the course of Super Bowl 36.
Warner goes back to throw, and here's the blitz by Mike Brady. The pass is intercepted. They got by Tyrone. 30, 25, 20, 15, touchdown, touchdown. Tyrone. Hey, who got in clean and made him throw the ball much sooner than he wants to.
I threw the ball early. Isaac broke somewhere where I didn't expect him to break. Plus, my throw wasn't where I wanted it to be with a guy in my face. And, you know, it was just one of those easy plays for Ty. I mean, he didn't have to do anything but catch the ball and run.
Ty Law with the interception and just nothing but green space in front of him, trotting down the sidelines for a go-ahead touchdown, and the Patriots out on top.
Ty Law scored the touchdown and earned the glory that went with it. But the run back would never have happened without a critical error of the Rams' Rod Jones.
Was at the NFL owners' meetings in March, and Mike Martz, I said, well, what would you have done differently? And the things he told me was, one, he wouldn't have started Rod Jones at tackle. It was a busted assignment by Rod Jones on the play. He turned in, blocked down, which left Vrabel free to come on the outside instead of turning out.
And instead of Kurt throwing that away, he tried to fit it into Isaac, and boy, I'm watching Ty Law run down the sideline with the ball like, oh my God, really? Really? That just happened? And I'm thinking to myself, okay, we have to, we're in one of these games where nothing's going right.
You saw the atmosphere in the stands just change because we had the name of Patriot without everything that went on with 9/11. You heard some of those people that weren't sure who they wanted to root for start rooting for the Patriots. That play was huge. It put us on the map.
If that play put New England on the map, another throw late in the half put the Rams deeper in the hole.
Warner, straight back to pass, hangs in, fires the middle, Ricky Prohl, first down, loose football, picked up by the Patriots. Terrell Buckley into Rams territory. And the Rams have just committed their second turnover here in the first half.
We hit Ricky in what we call Z-post. He took off with it. He was trying to make a play, didn't see the tackler come in. He put his helmet right on the ball, and the ball squirts out. Just one of those things that happens, and what can you say? They made a great play.
The pass was caught by Ricky Prohl. He was jarred on a big hit. Coming up to make the tackle was Antoine Harris.
The real difference in that game were the turnovers. And there was a lot of grabbing and pulling that I think years later they didn't allow. But, you know, you start talking about that, that's just whining, you know, and sour grapes, and that didn't affect it. What affected it is the turnovers.
With 1:20 before halftime, Troy Brown was ready to make his second important catch of the day.
Our defenses came up with the big play. Now we want to hit them back with the positive play. If you noticed, I didn't waste any time finding the crease to get up the field.
He looks to the left, he fires to the left, it's a quick screen. Troy Brown at the 35, at the 30, on his feet inside the 30, to the 24. 1:12 remaining in the first half. Brady fires to the right. It is caught by Jermaine Wiggins down to the 15-yard line. Grant Williams is in at left tackle as Matt Light is limping off the field.
Third and short for the Patriots. Johnson in motion near side. Brady will toss to Kevin Faulk, sweeping near side, looking for a first down. He's got it. He's inside the 10.
Great block by Grant Williams. Williams is the left tackle in place of an injured Matt Light.
Williams' perfect block on two Rams defenders set the stage for the perfect play call.
We watched film on those guys, and we watched how they jumped those out routes, and we put it in there just specifically for that reason. There wasn't very many better route runners than David Patton in the NFL at that time.
Brady drops back to throw, looks, fires right. Touchdown, David Patton! Touchdown, David Patton!
The thing that stands out the most about the route was the way he was able to sell it. He sold the out route, and he turned his head back and he looked for the ball. And I think it was McLean. I think that was all over it. And when he turned up, there was nothing he can do about it.
So Tom Brady throws his first ever Super Bowl touchdown pass, coming with 31 seconds to go in the half.
I mean, boy, at that point, we were feeling pretty darn good about the score, and we ran in at halftime thinking it's going to be tough for them to beat us.
I think there was a mindset on the Rams' part that the Patriots were not to be taken extremely seriously. I don't think that the Rams thought they were in their class. And I think when they found themselves down at halftime, I think you started to feel a little bit of that. And I think you started to feel some desperation, and I think that's where the mental portion of the game started to get at the Rams.
The Patriot fans are halfway home to a shocker. 14-3 New England at halftime. Can you believe what is happening here in New Orleans?
As darkness fell on New Orleans, 14-point underdog New England found itself in an unexpected place. Their fans were delighted with the double-digit lead, but the Patriots knew just how precarious that lead was.
When you're playing the Rams, you can't give them the ball. If you get them the ball in a short field, it's a touchdown. If you turn the ball over and give them any extra possessions, you're going to lose the game. So the most important thing we had to do that entire game was not turn the ball over. And if we didn't turn the ball over, we felt we had a great chance to win.
Our whole thing was just to try to shorten the game. You know, every time that we could give Antoine Smith the ball, we felt like that was one less time we would have to face Warner, Holt, Bruce, Faulk, and the rest of them.
In speaking with offensive coordinator Charlie Weiss, I said, why can you beat the Rams? He said, we're going to run the ball, and that's going to be the key to our win. And so far, Charlie Weiss is playing everything up front.
Keep doing it, keep eating up the clock. That's even a better defense than the one you have on the sideline. Hence, the reason why you would want to run Antoine Smith a heavy dose in this second half.
Antoine was more of a between-the-tackle type of runner, maybe a quick spurt or two outside here or there. So we were able to get, certain plays going for us to give him the ball and find an opening.
We knew Antoine was a big physical runner, but that wasn't a major emphasis, so to speak. We got to stop the run, got to stop the run. One of the things I guess we were probably a little bit more concerned about than anything facing the Patriots was some of their gadgets and trick plays and things like that. Charlie Weiss, their offensive coordinator, liked to do some different things.
1st and 10 for New England. The pitch to Smith. They work the reverse to the right to David Peck. Across the 40, 45, 50. Still on his feet and tracked down out of bounds.
But the Patriots offense has the Rams defense on its heels right now.
Yeah, our defense does not look as fast as they should. I tell you what, if that came around, he was going to move on and went up underneath them. New England doing a great job offensively of hustling downfield with those big offensive linemen.
Come on, team! Enough is enough!
We got to make tackles out there, right? We're standing there in the reverse, Leonard falls, somebody else Smith. All we got to do is make tackles. Yeah. But hell, if we're falling on the ground, not wrapping up and all that, we got to get the ball out, right? First guy hits, second guy's got to strip. Let's get it going, right? Let's get it rolling out there now. Let's go.
All year, the Rams' defense had played second fiddle to the greatest show on turf. But in the third quarter, Lovie Smith's crew became the featured performers.
Our defense kept us in that game. The guys played their hearts out. It was a great performance by our defense. And that, I think, is lost in everything. And that's the tragedy of that game, because our defense was spectacular against their offense. They really shut them down.
Brady takes the snap, steps up, big rush, call down, sacked.
Their defensive game plan was pretty much what they'd done all year. They're Tampa 2, and they played a little bit of 3-deep zone. And they had very good players doing it, and we had a hard time. I mean, we had a hard time moving the ball.
They were not a sophisticated offense, and they didn't take a lot of risks. Tom Brady was very calculated with where he went with the ball, and that's their nature and how they played. When you're going against that kind of an offense, it's more about how we play. Do we give them anything cheap? Do we give them something that they don't deserve? And I think for the most part, we did do what we needed to do.
While the Rams' defense held its ground, the offense was more determined than ever to keep putting the ball in the air.
Mike Martz, when he gets in a hole, he didn't need much pushing to convince him that I need to throw the ball a zillion times.
From a coaching perspective, there's a frustration that I didn't deal with very well. So as the further we get behind, the more you start to sense you got to make something happen, you know. And that's a death knell for a play caller. Then you become impatient.
The Rams' first possession of the second half consisted of 7 plays, all passes.
You know, that's one of the things we were surprised about, that they didn't run the ball more. I guess they felt like they had an advantage versus our defensive backs, which they probably did. They had the best receiving core in the league.
The matchup with their corners and our receivers, we had an edge. Ty Law and Otis Smith, I mean, they're great on the ball, but once you get beyond that, running down the field deep, their top end speed versus Isaac and Torrey, we felt like we had an advantage.
We didn't do enough or make enough big plays to offset what they were doing to us defensively to make them change or make them make an adjustment as far as, maybe we could have ran the ball more. Maybe we could have thrown shorter completions to move the chains.
Throw deep down the left side, got a man, a catch out of bounds, incomplete, intended for Torrey Holt.
Well, he had Torrey Holt running down the left sideline, but uncharacteristically, he was inaccurate because the ball landed out of bounds, even though Torrey Holt caught it.
The Patriots' pocket pressure ended the St. Louis drive.
Quarterback to throw, steps over the pocket, he's hit and sacked. Careening back down the field at the 48-yard line was Richard Seymour.
They rushed the passer better in that game than they had all year. I think probably the biggest thing that happened was their defensive front probably had their career game.
Tell you what happened. Adam Timmerman touched it, but he just threw Timmerman right aside. That's a great play by the rookie defensive tackle.
Well, the Patriots had just 2 defensive linemen in that set.
Should have had a pick dog. I don't know, it was 32, but we should have had a pick dog.
We could have given Marshall the ball more, but as soon as we went to personnel groups, they always had an extra guy down. And our philosophy in that point is we're one-on-one now on the outsides. We took the burden off of Marshall and we're throwing it to the outside guys. And we could have been a little more patient and run the ball. We could have run the ball 7 to 8 more times. Would it have made a difference? Maybe.
Running plays did make a difference on the Rams' next possession, when 4 consecutive Faulk carries gained 30 yards.
Marshall Faulk running left across the 45 to the 50 and runs out of room. As long as you have number 28 on your football team, you are very much in the game.
But disaster struck the Rams when they returned to the pass.
Back to throw is Warner, fires, and is intercepted. Picked off by the Patriots. Otis Smith at the 50, 45-40 left sideline, down inside the 40. Goes Otis Smith on the pass interception.
That was just one of those plays where Torrey and I were on the same page. It was exactly where I wanted to go with the football, but as he was coming off his route, he just tripped, just stumbled just a little bit. And that little bit of a stumble caused the timing to be off. And another one of those plays where it really wasn't hard for Otis. He was right there. Unfortunately, it's a game of inches, and especially in the biggest games of the year. And that's exactly what happened. They capitalized on another one of our mistakes.
New England had the ball at the St. Louis 33. It was here where number 98, defensive end Grant Wistrom, seized control. Earlier in the quarter, he'd shut down a run for negative yardage. Now, Wistrom would have to do it again.
He takes the toss. He wants to throw, and he's tackled behind the line of scrimmage by Grant Wistrom.
Grant was the motor up front. He was our blue-collar guy. I think Grant Wistrom was the leader, and he was the hero of that defensive line because the way he ran to the ball, the blue-collar style of defense that he played really personified what Lovie Smith wanted.
The Patriots converted a third takeaway into points. But this time, the St. Louis defense had limited the damage.
The 37-yard field goal attempt coming for Adam Vinatieri. Snap ball down. Kick is up on the way, and she's good. So the Patriots get 3 out of the turnover. We have come to the end of 3 quarters at Super Bowl 36. And the Patriots are 15 football minutes away from being the world champions.
Get your rest! Get your rest! Get your rest!
Once again, I just can't say enough about the Patriots defense doing what no other team seemed to be able to do, and that's throw Kurt Warner in this passing game out of rhythm, out of sync.
We talked about it all week. If the Patriots had a chance, it came down to defensive structure and personnel, and Bill Belichick and Romeo Crennel have been dialing up the right defenses all night.
Warner on the pitch to Faulk running right. Hit and dropped short of the first down by Teddy Bruschi. He took on Marshall Faulk head on.
Bill Belichick's a genius. He figured us out. I mean, we go 3 years and we score a lot of points, and we get to one game, and I think we scored 3 points in 3 quarters. Mike just came to us and said, listen, guys, you know, we're going to go after them. The plays that we felt going into that game that we had on our ready list to attack them, we just got off script. It's like, listen, I'm going to call some plays. We may be having practice against some of the things that they're going to do.
We love you, Rams. Don't give up. Don't give up now, Rams. Go, baby, go, baby, go.
With just 1 quarter to go, Mike Martz ramped up the tempo, junked his original game plan, and began calling plays on the fly.
You know, the thing with the Rams, and we understood this, we wasn't going to be able to stop them the whole game. We knew that. We just wanted to slow them down. And at some point, we knew that they would gain momentum and they would go in and they would make adjustments, which all great teams do. And they would come with something different to kind of throw us off, which they did.
Drifting near side, looking for a receiver. Has to avoid the rush and escapes a tackle, dumps it for Ernie Conwell. Breaks a tackle, coming back near side. Ernie.
And we started moving the football. They really didn't know how they wanted to attack what we were doing. I mean, we switched up a lot of different stuff. We found that confidence back. We found our swagger back, and it was like, okay, this is us.
We were just trying to defensively kind of hang on, keep it in front of us. They hit a couple of those seam passes, you know, with Faulk out of the backfield. They got that going in the 4th quarter. That definitely helped them.
Again, the slant complete to Faulk. Breaks a tackle at the 10 and dropped inside the 10.
Great pass from Warner right on the money.
Right in the seam. He threw it dark.
And this now looks like the Rams we have seen throughout the year.
What Mike did was every once in a while, maybe more in the red zone, I would work towards the tight end side. And what we found out was working towards the tight end side put the linebacker in a bind. Either he had to give the tight end a free release, which would then allow him to get down the field if he wanted to hit me. Now, if he bumped the tight end, then I had a free release. So on that play, working towards the tight end side, Jeff did a great job at occupying him, kind of caught the linebacker in the bind, and I slipped behind him.
Marshall Faulk is so good that he could really become a great wide receiver if he wanted to be. And that's why it's so difficult to defend these Rams. And this is where this defense now has got to bow its back, and it can't give them a touchdown.
First red zone appearance for the Rams today.
3 St. Louis attempts to cross the goal line failed, bringing up a 4th and 3.
The Patriots looking to mount it up on 4th down on defense. The Rams looking to score on 4th down. Warner back to throw, looking left. Now being chased. Now rolling to the right. He's got a wide open alley. He's trying to run for a touchdown, and he is down and fumble the ball. It is picked up by the Patriots. It is Bucky Jones. He's going to go all the way.
Bucky Jones will score for New England. The Patriots come up with a defensive touchdown, their second.
The fastest guy on defense is running towards our goal line. And at that point, I'm like, we won this game. It was at that point in the game where I'm like, you know, this game is over.
Bucky Jones just went about 95 yards with a fumble recovery, but there's a penalty flag on the field. So hold everything.
You know what it's going to be? It's going to be a holding against whoever was guarding Marshall Faulk.
Willie McGinnis just tackled me, and the referee, I mean, it took him a minute to, like, reach for his flag and throw it, because he really didn't know, like, do I want to call this in the Super Bowl?
And the referee kind of got caught in the bind, but Willie, he just came and gave me a big bear hug, and you're not going, I have you. Like, I did my job. You're not scoring this touchdown.
I held on a little too long, which I don't think should have been a flag because he wasn't in the play. Kurt Warner had rolled out way to the other side, which, I didn't think should be a call, but I did. On that particular play, I was guilty. I held him because I didn't want to. I'd rather take a penalty than give up a touchdown.
Out of all the times that I was held, grabbed, or whatever, I got a flag.
I actually knew that there was a flag on the play. And so knowing that, I was just trying to create a play and trying to get into the end zone. It's like when somebody jumps offside and a quarterback, I'm going to take the big shot whether it's intercepted or not. Let's go for it because I know we're going to get it back. So we kind of had a free play to try to make something happen.
Defensive holding, Patriots. So take away a 99-yard fumble return for a touchdown by Tabucky Jones.
That was one of those sinking moments in your stomach where you're just like, oh no. Not to mention all the guys just got done running 100 yards down the field and celebrating in the end zone. They're tired. Now the Rams got 1st and 10 at the 2-yard line. We're in trouble.
Warner, quarterback sneaks, walks into the end zone, touchdown Rams.
And then they sneak it in on the next play with the fake quarterback sneak. Well, the quarterback sneaked it, but both guards pulled. It was a double sucker play, which you don't see that very often, but it was one of Mike's creative plays down there.
So the Rams drive 79 yards. Kurt Warner with a 2-yard touchdown run.
Mike Martz said this is a battle of two evenly matched teams. He wasn't blowing smoke, was he?
No, he was not.
Good drive. Now we go get another one.
And they end up scoring on that drive, and I just felt like I let the team down. I was a captain, and I didn't like being one of the guys who hurt the team. And I was upset with myself, and it was frustrating, especially in the biggest game of our life.
A 17-10 lead. The Patriots do not want to turn the ball over. They've got to hang on to it. Get some time off the clock. Everything riding here in the final 9.5 minutes after that terrific touchdown drive by the Rams.
I think definitely in the fourth quarter of that game, we did lose a little momentum. And I think the natural tendency is when you're ahead in a game that you kind of pull off the throttle a little bit, that you start to play a little more conservative. You don't take quite the risk. Maybe trying to run the clock a little bit, playing for some third downs. Well, when you play for third downs, if you don't make one of those third downs, you're off the field and you're punting. That's exactly what happened.
No. He's vertical and outside. You continue to run that because you're putting Tabucky in a bind. Okay. He had to take that, and then we didn't have anybody over here, okay?
So as I'm going around talking to my teammates, trying to gather them up, saying, hey, let's go. I know you're tired. I'm tired. But this is the Super Bowl, and we need to snap out of it.
Their defense got to be tired. We haven't barely seen the field, really. This might be our lowest plays of the year.
As you saw the Rams start to gain traction late in the game, you could also see the fatigue factor. You're playing in a Superdome that's very hot. And honestly, the talent gap eventually is always going to show itself athletically. And the Rams on turf were that much more athletic than some of the Patriots. And the Patriots were holding on by their cuticles.
We were running out of gas, and we were using our timeouts to try to rest our defense. We took a timeout there on like a 3rd and 23, or it was some ridiculous, down and distance. But that's kind of the way that fourth quarter was. I felt like we were hanging on.
I'm not sure if it was fatigue. I really think it was more getting back into rhythm. It was getting our timing back. It was playing the way that we have always played. And once we got our timing back, I felt like we were as good as any team in history at throwing the football down the field. It was a huge turn of emotions to go from all that frustration to all of a sudden, all this excitement going, okay, we got this thing.
Just when total collapse seemed imminent, New England's defense got its second win.
You gotta make them beat us. No penalty. I need rushers. Let's go.
The Patriot pass rush was led by a remorseful Willie McGinnis.
I was still thinking about that play, which I helped them get a touchdown. And I was just going through my mind, I got to do something. I got to make a big play. I got to get our team back on track. I got to do whatever I got to do.
Warner backpedals with a lot of time. Flushed out of the pocket, gets away. Now it's sacked by Willie McGinnis back at the St. Louis 45-yard line. Pressure from Seymour, and then McGinnis polished him off, and a loss of 16 yards.
I just said no matter what, I wasn't going to be blocked on this play. And I ended up sacking him, and when I sacked him, it kind of knocked him out of field goal range.
You know, Willie McGinnis might have been vilified in Boston for that penalty where he held Marshall Faulk that led ultimately to a touchdown for St. Louis, but he's come up with some big plays here.
Willie McGinnis blew up that drive with that 15-yard sack.
Yes, he did.
But then the Patriots went 3 and out for a second straight series, and the Rams took over at their own 45. With just under 2 minutes remaining, Mike Martz instructed his offense to put the pedal to the metal.
And we thought about starting that Super Bowl in the 2-minute drill, kind of put them on their heels and take them out of their complex defensive schemes and calls and whatnot. And once we got into a no-huddle offense, we went down the field pretty quick. Nobody panicked. Everybody was confident that we would get that done.
The lead pass to Isaac came at the 50, down the sidelines, is finally out of bounds inside the New England 40-yard line.
We played this game in our backyards when we were kids.
This is our game.
This is the type of game we done played all our lives.
The Rams' storybook comeback would also include an unlikely hero, number 83, backup receiver Yo Murphy.
If there's a camera, you can get Yo Murphy's eyes. When that play is called and it's like, what? In this game?
The one thing that they did was they put a receiver in the backfield. I think he was their 4th receiver. For some reason, we didn't chip that guy, and they had big plays. So they started, this greatest show on turf started to get some confidence.
Swings it out to the right, and is complete to Yo Murphy. Yo Murphy. Here we go.
It was Murphy's only catch of the entire season, the penultimate play in a touchdown drive that took only 21 seconds.
I like our chances right now. We got to show them why we're the number one offense in the league.
Right. 1:37 to play.
Here comes a bump and run now. This is what they've been successful at all game long.
Warner stands in, fires, Ricky Paul wide open. Inside the 10, breaks the 10, yes! Touchdown, Ricky Paul! What a play, Kurt Warner to Ricky Paul, and the Rams fight and claw their way back in this football game.
I told you, I like Martz.
What they do here is they have slot receivers to the left. Isaac Bruce on the outside runs a little slant, and he picks off Terrence Shaw, who was covering Ricky Prohl, and it was a pick pattern. Kurt Warner just lays it out there, and Ricky Prohl makes the easy catch.
Ricky Prohl touchdown, I think you could definitely see the fatigue setting in, because while it was a well-designed route, the defender in the area wasn't able to get into a situation where he could even make a passable attempt to bring Prohl down.
The Patriots had a 17-3 lead after 3 quarters. The Rams offense has come to life in the 4th quarter to tie it at 17-17.
We don't quit. Hell yeah.
A heartbreaking 4th quarter for the Patriots.
You know, when they ran the switch route with Prohl, we got picked off, and then he broke a tackle and scored. And so, you know, that was, I mean, we didn't want them to have the ball again, believe me.
It ain't over till it's over, baby.
There was a minute and a half left, and we figured that wasn't like it was a lightning offense, the New England team, certainly not like it is now, where they're capable of the quick score. We also, boy, this is going to be great. We're going to see the first overtime in Super Bowl history.
And the momentum has clearly swung to the players with the Rams horns on their helmet.
You know, we really felt like we were in a great position, that they had a long way to go to score. Obviously, they had a young quarterback, a young offense. We really felt at that moment that we were going to get the ball back and we were going to win that game.
The confidence on our sideline shot up tremendously. We were just looking and waiting for a mistake to be made by their offense, or a big play on our defense, or just another opportunity to get back on the field.
I think that the Patriots, with this field position, you have to just run the clock out. You have to play for overtime now. I don't think you want to force anything here. You don't want to do anything stupid.
You know, from what I heard, John Madden wanted us to take a knee, so I'm glad he wasn't our coach at that time.
I was stunned after the game that there was even conversation about the Patriots taking a knee, especially given the evidence that you'd seen over the past 15 minutes. The party was just about over. The last thing you wanted to do was extend the game and give the Rams the ball again. You had to end it as soon as flipping possible.
I was waiting to get the instructions, and we had been a very good two-minute team the entire year. I mean, it wasn't like we weren't very good with the up-tempo, no-huddle style, and we were good with it. I thought that was one of our strengths, so I'd have been pretty pissed if we had decided to kneel on it. It's 17-17. Well, my first thing is I go up to Charlie and I say, "What are we doing?" And he says, "We're going." So I said, "All right, what's the first play?" And Charlie says to me, as I'm sure Bill said in his ear, "He better take care of that ball." So Charlie yells at me. He says, "Hey, take care of that ball." And Drew was kind of standing next to me, and he kind of just shuffled in front of that, and he says, "That, go out there and sling it."
Tom came strutting on the field with a big smile on his face, came in the huddle, and looked at everybody and said, "Let's go do this thing."
They weak, man. They overrated. Tom Brady, overrated.
All right, folks, button up your chin strap. Here we go.
Minute and 21 remaining in regulation time. Brady back to throw. In trouble. Gets away and dumps it off across the middle. And it is caught by J.R. Redmond out to the 22-yard line.
The first play for me is always most important. The thing I want to do in the first play is gain yards and get the defense going backwards. I remember almost getting strip sacked on the first play. I stepped up into the pocket, and just as I was about to go down, I flipped the ball to J.R. Well, if I had taken a sack there, I'm sure we'd have just run the clock out.
Second down and 5. Direct snap to Brady. Over the middle it goes, complete to J.R. Redmond to the 30-yard line. First down, Patriots.
J.R. Redmond, a guy I played in college with at ASU, he was one of those guys that was kind of like an X factor. And from the day he was a freshman, he dazzled everybody at ASU. He didn't have a great career in the NFL, but I tell you what, when it counted, he came through in that game, unfortunately, against our team.
Brady takes the direct snap, stands in the pocket, dumps it off to the left, complete to J.R. Redmond, 30, 35, to the 40, and a first down, and out of bounds with 33 seconds remaining.
We had an opportunity to tackle a guy in bounds, allowed him to get out of bounds, and that created more time on the clock for them. You know, I think we missed a tackle. That was probably the biggest play of that drive, you know, not tackling the guy in bounds.
And that set us up for the moment where we called that 64 all in. And I still can't believe the middle of the field was so wide open.
Brady fires down the field, caught. Troy Brown at the 40. He's to the left of the 37-yard line and goes out of bounds, stopping the clock with 21 seconds to go.
Troy Brown ends up, being our most dependable receiver, but being one of the most dependable receivers I ever played with. The weak side linebacker came all the way over to the middle of the field in a cover 2 scheme, and Troy slipped behind him. I fired the ball to Troy. There's nobody on that side of the field other than the cornerback.
What St. Louis did on that was instead of going with their 4-man rush and playing their 2-deep coverage, they ran a 3-man rush, but they dropped their defensive tackle out, and he was the short guy. And so because it was only a 3-man rush, Tom had a little bit extra time. Coverage sank back. Troy was able to gain the yards and get out of bounds. I mean, without that play, I don't think we're able to get into field goal range.
Why, oh why, did the Rams defense play so soft on that last drive? The Rams dropped 8. They blitzed only once or twice. For all the good things Lovie Smith did with that defense, I just think they played too soft. And I think a lot of people do think they played too soft on that drive, too much prevent.
Brady brings them out in the shotgun in the backfield. Direct snap to Tom. Looks, fires over the middle. Caught by Jermaine Wiggins down to the 30-yard line of St. Louis. The Patriots have to come up and snap the ball down here. Brady to the line of scrimmage, down to 9 seconds left. Throws the ball to the ground with 7 seconds left. And Adam Vinatieri will try to win it with a 47-yard field goal attempt.
I really thought I'd be more nervous than I was, but at that point I went out there and I said, you're not expected to do anything that you haven't done in the past, that you can't do. It's a 48-yard field goal. Just go out there and hit it. And if it goes through, everybody's going to be happy. Well, everybody but the Rams.
You hear everybody's breathing. A lot of guys had their heads down, didn't want to see it.
You know, should I look or should I not look? And, you know, of course, you want to look, you want to see.
From there, it just all slowed down. It was just slow-mo, you know. The snap, the hold, the kick, the ball leaving my foot. And at that point, when I kicked it, I knew it was good.
Kick up. Kick is on the way.
Blooded, ice in his veins, Adam Vinatieri. He does what he does, and he puts it through.
The perfect snap from Lonnie Paxton, a perfect hold by Ken Walder, and a perfect kick by Adam Vinatieri. Well, New England, you have the best football team in the world right now. The Super Bowl champion, New England Patriots.
Is it destiny or is it dynasty?
Well,
and it turned out to be
destiny.
Destiny. Everybody, the New England Patriots, congratulations.
World champion, baby! Yeah! Nobody ever thought, baby.
All right, man.
We did it, Paul.
Hey, we couldn't have done it without you. We could not have done it without you.
We did it! We did it!
As the improbable world champions rejoiced, a red, white, and blue blizzard of confetti provided the perfect backdrop to a game and a year where such colors were both predominant and appropriate.
The fans of New England have been waiting 42 years for this day. Spirituality, faith, and democracy are the cornerstones of our country. We are all patriots, and tonight, the Patriots are world champions.
For guard Joe Andruzzi, being able to celebrate this moment with his family after the nightmare of 9/11 was especially meaningful.
Having my wife, my parents, my brothers come down there and being able to hold that trophy up with them, you know, something I'll cherish for life because they're a part of that trophy as much as me, my teammates, my coaches. You know, your family is who you are, and my family is who I am, and you know, I truly believe that.
The way we won the Super Bowl and how we won it, we knew that if we can hold on to that and remember what it took to get there and remember the feeling once we won it, that our run wasn't over.
New England's run did extend in the seasons that followed. Another clutch Adam Vinatieri kick beat the Carolina Panthers in Super Bowl 38. A year later, the Patriots cemented their dynasty status by defeating the Philadelphia Eagles in Super Bowl 39.
The Patriots are going to be Super Bowl champions again. Back to back. 3 out of 4.
Through the first decade of the new millennium, the Patriots continued to win division crowns and conference championships. And it was their upset win in Super Bowl 36 that jump-started this era of winning. But it was the very same game that wrecked such hopes for the St. Louis Rams.
Guys dream of playing in the Super Bowls, and you always dream of seeing yourself on the podium after the game's over. You never see yourself walking off the field with the confetti flying and someone else celebrating. I never had that vision in my head. Just to see it happen, considering you were a 14-point favorite, it's just hard to. It was a hard pill to swallow. Really hard.
You don't celebrate the fact that you were in the Super Bowl, that it was a great game, that it took a kick the last second to beat you. All you look at and go, man, we blew an opportunity. We blew an opportunity to win our second Super Bowl in 3 years and really accomplish something special. And I think we carried that with us the whole offseason. We came back in 2002, and I just fully believe we put way too much pressure on ourselves. We felt like we had to right the wrong from the year before. We had to make up for that loss that we had to the Patriots. Instead of just going out and playing, we tried to be too perfect. And in that process, we started spiraling backwards. The first time that maybe the greatest show on turf, you started to wonder how much longer would this last.
In 2002, after losing the Super Bowl, I think the biggest issue there had nothing to do with the players. It was more on myself and how I approached that season. I was geeked up pretty good now. You know, you lose that Super Bowl and you start pressing and pressing and pressing, and you become a different person. I think my attitude with that team wasn't very good. The leadership I provided the team wasn't what it should have been.
That's awful! That's awful! That's awful! That's awful! That's awful!
Despite making the playoffs 2 more times, Martz's teams never recaptured their early magic. In 2005, Martz was dismissed by the Rams, whose fortunes then only worsened.
And that was the tumbling down and the demise of the St. Louis Rams and the greatest show on turf. And it led to a disaster where this franchise ended up losing more games in a 5-year period than any franchise in the history of the National Football League. It makes you ill to think that something so good could end up so bad.
It's interesting to look now and see where the game is, and that Mike Martz getting no credit for it. He was we're going to throw the football to set up the run kind of guy. And now when you look at the NFL and how much people are throwing, and they used to call Mike crazy back then, now everybody's doing it. Nobody looks at Mike Martz and says, you know, this started with the Rams in the late 90s. I love the guy, and I think he should get his due for how we watch the game played today.
The NFL has been heavily influenced by the philosophies of the 2 head coaches that competed in Super Bowl 36. Both have legacies that will endure, as will the memories of a game played at a crossroads in American history.
What can be more patriotic than the Patriots winning the Super Bowl after 9/11? And then the way we went about doing it, to show the American spirit that we keep fighting no matter what, and the way we're going to get together and bring our country back and make our country strong again as a team.
We exemplified so much that year on a team that had nothing to start, to scrounge from the bottom basically with a bunch of nobodies that were able to go out there and triumph.
Most people didn't think it would be a close game. They thought they were about to see a dynasty, or at least the beginning of a dynasty form. It might have been an NFL Films before the game. Ricky Prohl looks up at the camera and says,
Tonight, a dynasty is born, baby.
The irony was the dynasty that was born that night was the Patriots.
That, to me, is what Super Bowls are all about. They're defining moments that not only define players, but they define our league, and that game did that. It didn't play out like people expected it to, but any game on the biggest stage that comes down to the very last play, that's a great football game.